Good evening, welcome to the regular city council meeting of June 11th, 2024. We have roll call, please. Bodum.
Councilmember Eugene Costa Jr.
Here.
Councilmember Christina Hernandez.
Here.
Councilmember Gilbert Robles.
Present.
Councilmember Whitney Furnace.
Here.
Mayor Harrison Julian.
Here. Please stand with me for the pledge of allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is a moment of thanks, appreciation, of condolences. Over the last month or so, there's been quite a few deaths in the area. And recent ones, there's Brian Parlante, who is a son of one of our council members there's a picture where he passed away, Brian Parlante. There's a Leonard Andrade, who was 93. He was from here, he passed away. Luis Hernandez, who was also from here, he passed away. Bobby Valdez, from Guadalupe, a large family, he passed away. And a gentleman, Mike Regalado, has a lot of family here, he passed away within the last 30 days. So condolences to those family members. Anything else? Any comment from? We good?
Okay. I think so Valdez was Johnny.
Johnny? Okay.
Johnny Valdez, not Bob.
Okay, so keep Bobby in mind too, but keep him alive. Johnny,
That was their older brother.
okay, cool. All right, the next item 4 is agenda review. This time the city council will review the order of business. Is there any council member that wishes to change the order of business? As noted. Seeing no hands or comments. The next item is the Juneteenth proclamation. My pleasure to read these. There's two proclamations. One is the proclamation for Juneteenth proclamation. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, declaring that enslaved African Americans in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some two and a half years to June 1865 in reaching African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States. And whereas Emancipation Day observations are held on different days in different states in the South and Southwest and in other parts of the nation. And whereas June 19th is a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas at a national level on June 15th, the Senate unanimously approved a bill that would make Juneteenth the date commemorating the end of chattel slavery in the United States a federal holiday. Now therefore be it resolved by the virtue and authority of me vested as mayor, and on behalf of the city of Guadalupe, I do here declare June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth in the city of Guadalupe. So that's one. Thank you. The second proclamation is City of Guadalupe recognizing June 2024 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Intersex Pride Month. Whereas the City of Guadalupe is the home of people of all backgrounds, including those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex. And whereas while our city, state, and nation have come a long way in our journey toward dignity, understanding, and mutual respect for all, we have a long way to go in eradicating the prejudice and discrimination that lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex people and others face. And whereas hate speech continues to denounce lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex people and other members of the community. And whereas the city of Guadalupe has been instrumental in informing the public and promoting these protections. And whereas during the month of June, throughout the nation, numerous organizations, governments, and others recognize the rights of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and intersex persons during Pride celebration. And whereas each year in June marks the anniversary of the Stonewall Rebellion that gave birth to the modern movement to advance the rights of LGBTQIA and persons. And those committed to justice and equality celebrate during the month of June the notable achievements and outstanding services that gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender, and intersex Americans make to our city, state, and nations. Now therefore be it resolved that by virtue of vested in me as a mayor and on behalf of the city council of the city of Guadalupe, I proclaim June 24th as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex Pride Month, and encourage all people of the city of Guadalupe to advance the cause of equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex persons. So thank you for that. Thank you. It's important that we recognize that we all come from different places and spaces, and it's good to be a good neighbor to all. Okay, the next item is a community participation. There's quite a few requests to speak on other agenda items, so if I get confused a little bit, forgive me. But under open session, I have request to speak by Stephanie Kraus.
Thank you, council members and the city of Guadalupe staff. I'm part of, my name is Stephanie Kraus, and I'm part of the Cosecha Guadalupe Farmers Market Committee that was started through the Guadalupe Business Association this past year. And we are getting ready for our fundraising campaign. We are trying to raise $30,000 that will cover the permit fees that we need, advertising costs and staffing for 2 years for a market manager and an assistant. So we just wanted to give you an update. That's where we're at. We also have had 4 mobile markets where we had Route 1 Farmers Market has a vehicle that came to Guadalupe and actually set up at Leroy Park and sold that fruits and vegetables to our community. And so we have some data on that. We're planning on coming back in August to one of your meetings so we can present what we found through that. We'd also like to extend an invitation to the recreation manager if she may be willing to join us and meet with us. We meet 2 times a month on Zoom, and it would be really great to have a city representative that's right in there with us. We're also exploring a potential other location that would be more visible from Guadalupe Street and also provide parking. So we're hoping to come back in August and present that information to you, but we just wanted to let you know where we are today.
No, you mentioned that you have numbers in terms of those that utilize the route.
Yeah, we have numbers in terms of how many sales were made,
Okay.
what was sold. You have that with you. So we were gonna.
Can you present that?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Stephanie, for that. Yeah, they've sold kind of on average about $600 worth of produce on each visit. Right now we've had, again, over 160 transactions. So that's Route 1 mobile market. So that's averaging about 30 to 40 transactions every time that they visited. So that's quite a bit. I know that we've also been donating our own funds to purchase, any leftover food. So we've been giving that away. The Community Environmental Council has also donated over $500 worth to just pre-purchase and give that food away. So that's in addition to the mobile market actually being successful and selling that food. And then we do have more data on the seasonal produce that's being sold, as well as the number of not just transactions, but CalFresh and Market Match, which is doubling the amount of people and amount of dollars that people can utilize. Those numbers, it'll have to wait until August.
Okay.
But again, it's about $600 worth a visit, 600 to 800 worth of produce, and then it's been about 40 transactions in a visit.
And that was at Leroy Park or?
And those were all at Leroy Park.
Okay.
And then I think Steve has more to share about maybe like what we learned. But we'll share more hopefully as part of an agenda item.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next next person under open is Albert Nunes.
Just to represent, Albert Nunez representing to the Guadalupe Historical Society. I just wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't seen it already, to stop by the little display in the lobby that celebrates Asian American Pacific Islander Month. Some huge names in their industry came right from this town, and it's so great to, I was great to learn about Dr. Sutao, who born and bred here, and then he pioneered using radiation chemotherapy to treat children's cancer after World War II. And just a pioneer, and of course the Aratanis and Paul Kurokawa, old timers will remember that name, and see Brian in town once in a while. I'm also asking for any submissions for our months that we're going to celebrate. In September, we'll be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and in October, we'll be celebrating Filipino American Heritage Month. So if anybody has a name that they would like to feature or nominate someone to, and I just contact them and we just do a little story and do some pictures, and here we go. That's great. They could just send a message to guadalupemuseum@gmail.com. Okay. Thank you.
Good work.
These are cool.
Okay, next item is consent calendar. Following items are presented for city council approval without discussion as a single agenda item. Is there any council members or community member out there that wish to pull an item for discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second?
Yes, I second.
There's a second
Yeah.
here. So,
Got it.
is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. All ayes. The next item, item 8, city administrator report, Mr. Bowman.
I'll keep it short since we have a long meeting, but I thought it would be important to let you know that today I found out the House has released their final agricultural or rural development FDA appropriations bill. And so our earmark for the senior center and the public safety by Carbonell's office made it into the bill for $1 million. I think we submitted for 2 million, but they gave us 1. This is,
Take one.
yeah, this is great news since this is the main hurdle that needs to be reached before the final budget deal is struck. As you know, Carbonell was only able to select 15 project district-wide. So this bodes well for the project's chances. So I just wanted to give you that update. Also, the streets department will be installing the stop signs and opening everything up and striping the 4-way stop at 4th and Obispo on Monday.
I think people need to really see that because you see the signs that are taped right now, but
Yeah.
Monday, when is it?
Monday.
They're gonna start Monday, so there's gonna be
We'll be
stop
there.
sign on Obispo
Oh, good.
Yeah.
and 4th Street, so.
And just to highlight, Townsend Public Affairs grants memos included if you want to look at some of that. 3C Energy is projected to come here for a presentation on July 9th. The Arts in the Park grant is almost in the process of being submitted. All the information is put together, so we'll get that off. I can't remember. I think it's for like 25,000. 50,000. And it's the city's responsibility, I found out, to do the tree trimming in Guadalupe Street.
Well, we had it done, what, a year ago?
Yeah,
Before,
yeah. They can come out of the
Yeah, yeah.
street lighting landscaping district,
Okay.
I believe. I also, just skipping ahead, I could talk about,
You're slapping, huh?
I could talk about, the city engineer's report, but it's kind of the same. It's got a little extra fluff in there, but it's a darn good written
There's a
report.
lot,
There's a lot going on. If anybody wants
Anybody's
to
interested in seeing
look at
it.
our projects, take a look at that and go online or ask me and I'll get it to you. That ends my report. Thank you.
Any questions from the council? Okay, see none, no hands, we'll go to Director of Public Safety. Yeah,
Just 2 items, we'll be there at Fort Obispo Monday. And we'll be also eventually working with CHP in the area. So initially, we'll just be really doing warnings until people get used to it, unless there's something blatant. And the other thing is, this week or last week, we were notified by FEMA that the second generator monies have been approved and are being sent. So we'll have a large generator that will take care of the entire building that we'll place here, and then we'll have a backup generator that will be able, so that our public safety will be able to continue. And we can run now the facility as a emergency shelter if need be. So those are 2 exciting things. Thank you. That's my report.
all right. Going to item 10, Recreation Services Manager. Denise?
Yes, we have an exciting June plan for the recreation department and the community. Once again, we have our drop-in schedule. We're gonna have volleyball, dodgeball, and basketball again. You'll have those every single week. Dodgeball is just happening once this month because we're trying to get a feel for if the community likes that. Last month, it just happened to be there was another community event at the same time, which most people were already planning on going to. So we're gonna give it another shot. We also have our skate day happening on Saturday, June 15th. That's this Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. at Jack O'Connell Park on the basketball courts. That is being put on by the recreation department and the slow roll. There's going to be free skate rentals for all ages, from little tiny toddlers all the way up to adults. There's also going to be free lessons. So if you don't know how to skate, come out, they'll teach you. We're also going to have a vendor there, music, it's gonna be a good time. So we hope the community comes out and supports that. We have movie night coming up on June 21st. It's the first of the summer series, with dates on the flyer all the way to September. It's always gonna be at 6 o'clock. It's always gonna be at the Leroy Park Community Center inside, so you'll be nice and warm. We encourage kids to bring their blankets and their stuffies and just get comfy during the movie. We're also gonna have a vendor there, selling snacks and dinner if you need it. Lastly, we have Art in the Park happening on Sunday, June 30th. That's also gonna be at Leroy Park. We are going to have that from 11 to 3 p.m. We're gonna have craft tables, games, face painting, bounce houses. We have an art class with an instructor teaching that. That is at 12 o'clock sharp, so that is the only timed event. We're gonna have info booths, food vendors, as well as just craft vendors. And it should be a really good time. You can find all this information on our Facebook page, our Instagram, and our website. You can also find the flyers outside of the recreation flyers tonight, in both English and Spanish with all the different events. They're always free and they're open to the whole community.
Those flyers in the back or,
I actually have it right here.
Okay.
I will put them in the back.
okay, thank you. Chief?
I thought.
Apologize. guys. One item that I need to put out, Public Safety has finished making all our flyers in Spanish and English for the fireworks. So we have all the addresses and we'll be sending that out at prior to the end of the week about fireworks enforcement so that we get ahead of that. It was motioned by one of our audience members not to forget that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is Larry. Item 11, regular request the planning department to oppose 3 new Sacramento housing bills and authorize the mayor to sign and transmit the letter of opposition for all 3. Mr. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. Over the past few years, Sacramento legislators have really put through a lot of housing bills, also a lot of ADU legislation, which you see once or twice a year as I come back to you and say, this is what we have to do now. The bills that we have before you this evening are all being opposed by the League of California Cities, and they've encouraged individual agencies to prepare letters to their elected officials expressing that concern over them. I'd like to just briefly describe them. First, the Senate Bill 1037. This bill would allow the Attorney General to take legal action against a city and seek fines of up to $50,000 per month for failure to adopt the compliant housing element. Each cycle, the housing element gets harder and harder to qualify as an approved housing element. We've seen that just like in the last presentation when the professor was here explaining all the extra stuff that he had to do this time to being compliant with the state. I do have good news though. We just heard back from the state in the last couple of days that they have finished reviewing our revisions and they have very few changes that are needed. It's so few that they've suggested that we just have a Zoom meeting, which we're gonna have on Thursday this week, to take those comments and then for the professor to go ahead and finalize those. Once that goes back to the state and they say everything is okay, then we will be able to circulate the negative declaration that was prepared last year, send that out for 30 days and then bring it back and your council can then take final action on it. So this bill won't affect us that much, but it's one more thing that the state's trying to do to make it difficult for agencies to do their job. The second bill is AB 2243. This bill treats all agencies the same, even for those like Guadalupe that are in full compliance with our annual report for HCD, our RENA numbers. We only had to have 50 homes in the 5th cycle of the housing element. We came in with like 200, so we blew that off the lid off of that one. We now have 431 that are required for the 6th cycle, and we think we're going to make that. But what they're doing in this bill is they're lumping everyone together, and even for agencies like us that are in full compliance with this, they're saying that we could also be fined if we don't follow their regulations and stuff. So the suggestion of the League of California Cities is to amend this bill to make it clear that those agencies like us that are in full compliance should not be affected with penalties and fines like they're suggesting. And finally, AB 1886 is the bill would reverse what has been used for years. Policy is that when you have a housing element that is being reviewed by the state, if for some reason, let's say one section of it is something that the state doesn't like, the local agency is allowed to prepare special findings and saying, this is why we still want to keep this in. Maybe it's consistent with some of the policies of our general plan or something else, but we just don't want to do all the changes that they did. And so what we do is we prepare those findings, and then it's called self-certifying. And so we would be finishing the document up and then doing a self-certification. And what this bill is saying is that you could no longer do self-certification. You have to do what the state says. So we're opposed to that as well. So we're asking the council to approve these 3 letters and allow the mayor to sign and then send them to our assemblymen and state senators. That's all I have for you.
Briefly, there's been, public concern about all the cars that are parked and the lack of parking for ADUs. And can you give us about a 2-minute or a minute process if someone wants to come in and build an ADU? What are the requirements of them?
Well, let's start with a single family home. The requirements, if someone came in, had a vacant lot and built a house, they would have to have parking for 2 vehicles inside a garage. You technically can't park on the driveway because the rear bumper has to be 20 feet from the right of way, which is where the edge of the sidewalk is. And so you really do need to have the garage when you build a home like that. Well, now the state has come along and said, if you convert your garage to build an ADU, first, you don't have to have the parking for the two cars that are required for the single family dwelling. And third, you don't need to have you don't need to have parking for that ADU unit either. So it means that people can park in the street, which makes things even worse. You may recall a couple years ago, I changed the regulations, or you changed the regulations, I recommended them, but adding a second parking space for apartments because they were so underparked. And that really was working, but now with the state coming in and allowing people to put in ADUs and convert carports into ADUs and that sort of thing, it's making it even harder to try to keep the neighborhoods looking good because it's throwing cars out onto the streets.
And we have no control over it.
No,
So I think that posing these recommendations is a good thing. So you need a motion from us.
yeah, there's a accept presentation and then
Okay.
to review it and accept.
Is there a motion to approve recommendations?
I'll also to approve the recommendation.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item 12. Placing a general obligation bond measure on the November 5th, 2024 ballot to finance a portion of the Royal Theater renovation project. Mr. Senko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the public, members of the city council. I believe that I have some help on the staff report. I saw that Tom Brandenberry is in the audience and also Steve Gortler, who's our consultant on the financial aspects of the bond. I'll go through the staff report briefly and ask them for assistance if there's questions that I can't handle, and then they want to also comment. This bond is about the Royal Theater project. This has been something that's come before you a number of times. You're very much aware of the city's efforts to spark economic development in the downtown with a renovation project involving the Royal Theater. The city has, through the efforts of Mr. Brandenberry, has been able to obtain $9.8 million in funding. That doesn't have to be paid back, it's grant funding, $5 million from the California Arts Council and 4.8 from the Economic Development Agency of the federal government. In addition, the city has some leftover former redevelopment agency funds that it's been able to use to move this project along. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19 and the consequence, this all started before that. And the initial costs that were for the project when the applications for the grants were made were within the realm of what it would cost. But because of the impacts of the pandemic and inflation, increase of materials and labor and all of that,
excuse me, we now find ourselves approximately $3 million short to see this project to completion as it is currently proposed. Running into some potential deadlines with the Economic Development Agency's funding of $4.8 million. We need to basically begin construction in March 25th at the latest. I don't know what chances of getting an extension on that would be. But assuming that deadline's firm, we would have to have all the money in hand before the Economic Development Agency would reimburse 1 penny, because it would be a reimbursement situation. We would have to have the money, prove that to them, start the project, and then submit reimbursement. So, and Mr. Brandenberry can certainly explain the shortfall better than I. But I met with him privately, and I understand that there is, no matter how we cut it, if we modify the project to reduce some of the elements that are potentially optional, that could be deferred later, it's still going to be short. We would need, I mean, it's not just the cost of the construction, there's other soft costs associated with it. There's construction inspection services that are required, additional design contingency and whatnot. So staff is trying to make sure this project happens as it's currently proposed. And although some have proposed other options like getting a capital campaign or seeking other grants, there really isn't a lot of time for that. The best option that staff has discovered that would guarantee the project could be constructed as proposed, this general obligation bond measure. And it would allow us to complete the project on time. So obviously it's not necessarily clear. One of the comments I saw Shirley Boydson submitted is that the city seems to put the cart before the horse. I think that's very true, but we weren't really driving the wagon. The reason why this happened the way it did is because of necessity. We are approaching an election. There's deadlines for the election. We were looking at possibly using tax credit funding to fill this gap, and we realized kind of late in the process that it wasn't going to work. So it was necessary to find another funding source, and the bond really was the only option. But again, we didn't have time to present we didn't really have time to make a case for it into the community. We had time to talk to you about it at a meeting in March the 26th and present the reasons why, but that didn't get out to the community. So I think the council understands why we're doing this, and I understand that the public doesn't, and we're not having our community meeting that's going to explain all this in more detail until next week. But unfortunately, because of these election deadlines, the council has to act tonight on at least there's two action items that are necessary to put the bond measure on the ballot. The first one is a resolution of necessity, and the second is an ordinance submitting or ordering the submission of the proposition to incur bonded indebtedness. Both of these must pass by 2/3 majority, which means 4 votes of the council in order for them to move forward. Assuming that happens, there'll be the community meeting next week. And then after that, the regular council meeting on the 25th, the ordinance will come back for a second reading. And that will also require 4 votes to get on the ballot. And the other thing would be a resolution placing the measure on the ballot along with the other stuff about the open seats that are running. There's going to be a bunch of stuff about the election next meeting, but there'll be a resolution placing this on the this measure on the ballot if it gets the 4 votes tonight. Does the council have any questions of me?
You mentioned that the deadline that we have to do it tonight. What is the actual deadline that we have to get this information to the county?
Well, we have 2 things we have to do.
Right.
We have to adopt
the resolution of necessity. That has to happen, and then at a subsequent meeting, the ordinance has to be adopted. So in order to, I mean, it is possible that this could be continued. I mean, it is possible. I do not recommend it, but it is possible to put this forward or to table it and put it on at the 18th special meeting. There's no requirement that the resolution be adopted at a regular meeting. It could be adopted at a special meeting. And there's no, the only requirement about an ordinance, it has to be approved or adopted at a regular meeting. It can be introduced at a special meeting. But but that would just complicate things a lot, I think. But I mean, my recommendation would be, rather than tabling it, it would be to move forward. And then if after the community meeting, people's minds change, assuming that, you know, there's the 4 votes tonight, then we need 4 votes at that meeting too, to make it move forward. And the resolution could also not be approved, putting it on the ballot. It's not, if you do it tonight, it's not irreversible. But it is an option, complicated and somewhat risky one to put it on a special meeting, but it could be done. I don't know if Tom had, Mr. Bradbury had anything to add to that. He's not required to, but if he has.
Thomas, Steve?
Yeah. Steve Cortland may also have some information for you and certainly answer any questions you might have.
Good evening, Julian and council members and city staff. My name is Tom Bradbury. I am contracted with the city as the project manager for the Royal Theatre. I don't, there's so much to say about this project. It's hard to discuss it, you know, in one format right here. I do have a presentation next week that goes over everything in detail. I did give council documents to look at ahead of time. The difficulty we have is multiple and very complicated. For example, we're dealing with an EDA grant. The money that came in from Biden's infrastructure grant, which means it was emergency money. So those dates don't get extended. Those are hard dates. March of next year, we have to have started construction. March of 27, we have to have finished construction, or we lose that money. So there are complications in here. We have tried tax credits, it didn't work. I will tell you that from my personal opinion or there's no money I'm not going to keep going for. But the one that we have an opportunity right now is the bond. But I intend to look at funds wherever I can find them between now and that we have to get started with the project. In other words, theoretically, we should probably put the bid documents out no later than December to meet the EDA deadline. So I could answer some questions, but I really think, you know, the details are extensive and probably good for the 18th.
Yeah, that'll work. And thank you, Tom, for clarifying that about the grant ability to extend that funding. I guess it's not extended.
Can you hear me okay? My name is Stephen Gordon. I'm a consultant, financial consultant. I'll just make a few comments on some of the points that we raised a short time ago. With regards to the schedule and the deadlines, just to sort of Santa Barbara County has their own schedule of deadlines in order to place an item on the ballot in November. And their deadline that you must comply with is June 27th. You must take all of the necessary actions and approvals and submit all the necessary paperwork and documentation to the county by 5 p.m. on June 27th. Otherwise, you have no option to get on the ballot in November. And Santa Barbara County is one of the earliest deadlines among the various counties in the state. We didn't know that when we started this whole process. We found out. And so a lot of the scheduling matters, you know, tonight's meeting and subsequent meetings have all been driven by this very short window that we have, or that you have, to meet these deadlines. You know, the first meeting, the second meeting. It was suggested that the meeting on 18 workshop, that occur prior to asking the council to take any action. As the city attorney pointed out, it may be possible, but I'm not sure that that would be actually possible. We haven't really examined that. We haven't had the legal counsel review that, outside legal counsel review that. I would have to caution you that it's possible that that might work, but it's also possible that we may fail to meet the legal requirements. So take some action on that. I just want to sort of highlight that. The other question is, it is a requirement that you approve tonight's action with 4 votes from the council. And similarly, it is required that you also approve the actions on the 25th, the next regularly scheduled meeting, with 4 votes of the council. If either of those meetings don't produce 4 votes of the council, then the item is nullified. It does not go on the ballot. So you have more opportunities to say no. You don't have more opportunities to say yes. You know, yeah, a no today, process ends. A yes today, the process continues, but you can say no on the 25th and the item dies then. Just to make that pretty clear. Because I know that the 18th and the workshop, it is unfortunate that it got sort of put in the middle rather than beforehand. As I said, you know, the scheduling constraints are not of our doing. We're just trying to make the best do that we can. And then the only other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is the cost. You know, if this was going to be free, then of course everybody would be in favor of it. But there is a cost involved, and I think it's worth spending just a couple of minutes and talk about how much it's going to cost the residents of the city if they go forward with this, if they vote to approve it, and it gets on the ballot and it passes and so forth. So we put some numbers together in the staff report. Maybe I'll just take a minute and go through those, explain them a little bit. There's a big table here on the 3rd page. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but you know, that's kind of like the analysis that we do to figure out who's going to pay and how much it's going to cost them. So you can see in the table there where it says single family residence, 1,728. So there are 1,728 single family residences in the city who pay property taxes. And we calculate that the average cost per year for those 1,728 residences will be $77 per year. That's their contribution toward the cost of this project. As Tom mentioned, you know, roughly $10 million is being paid from grant funds, which are essentially free. The other $2.75 million is coming from this bond issue, which goes on the property taxes. So, you know, just to kind of be clear about how much money are we talking about, whether that's a lot, a little, in the middle, you know, everybody gets to decide for themselves, but just so that we agree on what numbers are we talking about. The other thing is on the 2nd page, this little table there on the bottom showing how much would a single family residence pay in additional annual property taxes, depending upon what the assessed value was on their home. Anybody who owns a home knows that you pay property taxes based upon your assessed value. In the city, there's a wide range of values, ranging from under $100,000 to over $600,000, $700,000, and $800,000. So if your home is assessed at $100,000, you would pay $28 per year in additional property taxes. If your home is assessed at $200,000 per year, you would pay $56 more in annual taxes, and so on and so forth. The $77 per year is the average among all 1,728 homes. But if you're at the bottom end, then maybe it's only $28. If you're sort of towards the upper end, maybe it's $100 or $110. I just wanted to make, you know, put some numbers on the page here so that it's not too abstract. That's all I've got to say.
Okay. Any questions? Up in my hand? No? Okay, thank you. All right. We're gonna discuss it a little bit here. And then there's at least 7 people with request to speak on this item. And every one of them, every individual will get a chance to speak. So we're not gonna cut it to the short. Although I know that you mentioned that Shirley Boydston did mention the meeting of next week and the cart before the horse. And like is mentioned here, that there were some timeframes that we had to deal with that didn't get that meeting in front of this one. So Any discussion before we open it to the public? Good. So. I don't know if we do a hearing, still a hearing or just regular, I just read. Sorry, just a regular, okay. All right, the first individual, Jeannie Mello. Each individual will have 3 minutes to speak. Please.
Hey, everyone, I'm Jeannie Mello. I guess Shirley and I are on the same wavelength, but I've used putting the cardboard boards in my seat, but. Want to express my thoughts on the bond issue for the Royal Theater renovation. To start, I'd like to know why the issue is on tonight's agenda before the June 18th presentation. This disordered scheduling appears to be putting the cart before the horse or keeping the people in the dark before they know what's going on. It's disgraceful and disrespectful. I read back to the minutes of March 26, 2024 City Council meeting. Tom Bodum said the city has secured or was in the process of securing more than 10 million in grants and other financing, and the city believes an additional amount of approximately 3 to 5 million is required to ensure the project can be completed as designed. Well, what if that isn't enough? Then would you be asking for even more money from Guadalupe residents? My husband and I can barely keep our heads above water now. Please don't throw us an anchor. In the same minutes, Mr. Bodum discussed the following costs of lawyers. 10,000 to lawyers to serve as bond counsel, 5,000 to lawyers to serve as advisors to the city, and 5,000 to Santa Barbara County Elections Department to place the measure on the November 2024 ballot, all at taxpayer expense, my expense. This is just sampling of the expenditures in store for this project. The costs will continue to skyrocket. I'm not saying we shouldn't aim high, but hope is not a plan, and you seem to hope that the community will just come through and trust that this will be well managed, even though we don't know what nonprofit out there will be capable of running the site. If we are to do the renovation, and I suggest it be done with the funds available to restore the Royal Theater. If the theater is a resounding success, you could pursue expansion at a later date through a capital campaign that your nonprofit can run for another grant for the disadvantaged community. If the measure is placed on the November 2024 ballot, our vote will be a resounding no. Just a quick addition, I did a little impromptu survey on Guadalupe's Facebook page.
Thank you, Jeannie. We have to limit it in terms of time, so thank you for your comments. Mr. Albert Nunes. Is he here?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is, okay.
And for the time tonight, Albert Nunez. And a few meetings ago, I was up here railing against this project. Because I had overheard something and then I read the meeting minutes at the meeting that I was at. And that just boiled my blood. I just got up here and I said, well, how can you do this? And then I stopped. And I had an hour-long conversation. And then I had another conversation. And then I did some reading. And I learned a bit more about this project. And then I stopped thinking about all those details and deadlines. And because there's a ton of them that surround this project. But I'm now part of the committee to educate voters about the bond initiative and why it's important to pass. I'm trying to build a website right now with as much facts as we can put together. But it's not just facts and details. It's really a story. There's a story behind the Royal Theater. There's a story behind the resurgence in building the Guadalupe resilience plan in 2019? And then a year later, the council commissioned somebody to start to look for funds, explore how we can pay for something if we renovate. I strongly urge the city council to look past the deadlines and the price and look to the potential. My background in performing arts gave me a 20-year career in multimedia marketing. It took me around the country and around exposure to the performing arts is an invaluable slice of education that future generations deserve. I don't have any children and I'm a property owner. So my future generations aren't really going to benefit from a lot. It'll just be me benefiting from what you do by putting together this performing arts complex. You know, today I was in the library and I saw 4 separate families come in and return books with their kids and check them out again, and it was awesome. And just a week ago, I was at Shirley Boydston's birthday celebration. And I looked around the room and there were names that I had been with my whole life. Masatani, Sousa, Ramos, Abernathy. I'm talking about the community of families that have chosen to make this spot in the country their home. Our home deserves to grow. It deserves a vibrant downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you.
Next individual, Abraham. Abraham. It says, I can't. Carmona.
Oh, you look there.
We had the kids.
Okay, we'll probably change the diapers. All right, we'll go to Melanie Becker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and Melanie Backer here, and nobody, I mean, I agree with Albert. I come from the arts and I want this theater to shine. I think there's huge opportunities. My problem is, where's the budget? Or a new estimated budget. When I came here, and all I've heard is that we have 10.5 million. And then suddenly it's 9.8 million. And what about the historical tax credits of perhaps 800,000? Where's that? And the 4.8 EDA, have you tried calling the EDA to see if they'll back the date? I mean, we're just not hearing anything. I want transparency. I want to see a budget or an estimated of what you think it's going to be. And what's plan B? I mean, why aren't we already doing a capital campaign? And why can't it involve other people in the community and not just, it takes a village, a capital campaign. There are a lot of people here that can help raise money, and you guys aren't utilizing the resource, and it's a one-man band, and you need help, Tom, and we need, I want to see a budget. I mean, I get it. I want this theater to go too. My problem is 2/3 of the vote, everyone in the people in the community already think it's 10.5 million, and they're not going to vote. It's not going to pass. So I would get on a capital campaign right away and include people that can help do a capital campaign. And you can do the bond if you'd like, but I don't see my neighbors going for it. But I want this to survive, obviously. So we should be doing Plan B.
Thank you. We haven't come back yet, okay. There's 4 letters. One from Shirley Boydston. There, all the letters are in the back, Tom, to, Megan Lazaldi. From, Anthony Bush.
I think he did quick.
What's that?
I think he did quick.
Yeah, he goes twice, so, but they're back there for reading, and it's basically on the same line of comments. Jose, Nichols, Mr. Nichols.
I touch this.
No.
We're gonna do a tag team here. And what we're gonna do is, so we're representing the Comité Cívico Mexicano. I'm president and Stephanie Gonzalez is one of our members. First of all, good evening, council members and mayor. So let's talk about why a general obligation bond. The completion of the renovation of the addition to the Royal Theater is a win-win, not only for the city of Guadalupe, but for the entire Santa Maria Valley. Having the theater renovated and addition of a performing arts center will bring the following. And since we're with a cultural group, the Comité Cívico, which has been in existence over 100 years, we know that, and you all know that Guadalupe has a rich cultural history and dating back to the Native American settlements and the grants and the whole thing. So having a center where our cultural traditions and values can be enhanced and be presented is very important. Educational, music, art, dance will be focus of the new center. We have so many talented young people as well as adults in this community. And the center will be a focal point for learning and performing. Having been between my wife and I, who my wife and her siblings have property in this town. We have a combined 70 years working for the Guadalupe School District. We're both retired, but we haven't seen the talent in this city, including Marimba Band, which the band, the Regetting High School Marimba Band. At one point, half of that or more of the students involved in Marimba Band were from Guadalupe. So there's a lot of talent. The other thing is to continue the ability to provide service to the community. Several nonprofit as well for-profit groups will be able to continue serving the Guadalupe community by utilizing a theater as well as performing arts center. And again, this is an investment in our, as Al pointed out, it's an investment in our future generation. We may not be around to enjoy it, but the people, the students coming up, our citizens will have access to that. So I urge you to approve this bond measure. And I have to disclose, I'm also on the committee to pass this bond measure. I also want to let you know that there are other services that here in Guadalupe, when I'm involved in, I'm vice president of Smooth Inc., which manages your transportation contract. That's another thing that, all these services are going to be enhanced. I'm also with the Lions Club, and we're starting that up again. So I think my 2 minutes are up, and I'll let Tiffany do birthday.
Hello, good evening. My name is Stephanie Gonzalez, a member of the Comité Cívico. I'm here to express my support for the bond. I know I'm not a current citizen. I do still try to provide community service in the town I grew up in. This is where I'm from. This is where I probably tell everyone where I'm from. I think it's a valuable investment for the future generation. Think about your kids, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, the great-great-great-great-grandchildren yet to come into this world.
Growing up, we always complain, there's nothing to do here. Here's a chance to invest and give future generations something to do. A reason to stay. A lot of people in my class aren't hearing. Give them a reason to come back. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Well, this is Stephanie. Is Mr. Is he back there yet or? Any other comments out there? Good, bad, or indifferent? They're not bad, they're all good. All right, to bring it back to the council for discussion.
Yeah. Can we read out loud the comment?
No, they're in the back. You can meet them back there. We mentioned what you're. The information in the back, back to on the council side.
Mayor. Then you're not representing everyone who has a voice.
You wanna come on up? I mentioned you can come up, bring that with you and you can read it.
Which I find this one interesting, this is from Megan Zolbe.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Megan Lasolde was a prior council member, is that correct?
Yes.
So Megan has said, greetings, council and staff. I'm unable to attend the meeting on June 11th, but wanted to share my lack of support for the bond measure being placed on the upcoming ballot. With the dissolution of Los Amigos de Guadalupe and no clear report as to how that transpired, and Tom Braidberry's history with the city, I cannot support. Based on what I've seen for this project, the city will need to really look hard at working within the parameters that they've been given in order to make this project happen. I do not think the citizens will support this on the ballot. Sincerely, Megan Lasolde. This letter is from Anthony Bush. To whom it may concern, I oppose the theater bond proposal. Don't need 30 years of taxes for a theater we can't afford. The last letter, again, is from Anthony Bush. To whom it may concern, I oppose the proposed bond to fund the theater project in the downtown center. We do not need additional taxes for life. Citizens of Guadalupe do not warrant the need. There are other ways to finance it through private equity, fundraising, donations by all the very large agricultural companies doing business in Guadalupe. Find another way to fund it, not on our backs. So, thank you for allowing me to read those. Thank you. I felt it was important that the people that could not attend should be able to have their voice heard, and it should have been on record. Thank you.
Thank you. They're always on the record. All the correspondence that we get on the.
Okay, but I kind of feel like people that.
We heard you. We heard you. Thank you.
Video. Thank you.
Okay, now the council. There's looking at 2020, when we had some measures passed. And this is the community that is in favor of supporting the community. You know, the past measures for the public safety, past measures for the school, and by resounding numbers. I think that, first of all, the meeting that is scheduled for next week is, like Shirley mentioned, it's too bad that wasn't now, so that we can have some information and some data. Because as individuals mentioned, that the numbers, we haven't seen the numbers in terms of the community hasn't seen the numbers. Going back to the 2020 election, if we're looking at the voter count, I'm looking at the numbers that's needed. If for instance, there's a couple thousand voters in the community, we're gonna need 1,000 yeses on this matter. And that's a hard hill to climb. I am, one of the things that is mentioned by several individuals is that Royal Theater and the potential, first of all, the meeting, the reason for the EDA money was to create jobs. And there's letters from the GBA and other individuals that said, we support this refurbishment of the Royal Theater because it'll create up to 300-400 jobs. And Jose and Mr. Nichols mentioned that this community is known for its cultural identity in terms of what can happen with like the Comité, the 16th of September, Cinco de Mayo, and other plays. Even the graduations from the even if it's a kindergarten graduation or 8th grade graduation, or the graduations can happen here. So there's I don't think that there's a difference in what people are saying in terms of not building it, not setting aside some money or funding it. I don't think that's an issue. I think the issue is how do we go about doing it? I'm going to be saying the negative side of things. There's the Santa Maria Joint Union High School District is going to push a bond perhaps in November 2 for maintenance and also for a new school. So how does that look for our taxpayers? Because we have to kick into that also. So I think that we've heard individuals speak. The majority are. I don't think I know that they're not opposed to theater. They're not all of them. They're opposed to how we go about doing it. And I'll stop there and listen to other comments from the council. Any other?
With the renovations, be able to move forward without this bond?
I'll speak on behalf of staff. The project would not be able to go forward as is. It would have to be redesigned, most likely, to move forward, to get within the budget that we have, or the funds that we have. And that jeopardizes the funding, because we don't know if we could get it approved. We'd have to resubmit the redesign as a new project with the EDA. Most likely, and they might not approve it in time, and then we miss that deadline and then we lose the money. So that's the risk. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't guarantee that it would jeopardize the funding. That that's the reality.
And just like Melanie mentioned, in terms of looking out for a capital campaign. That startup has to go real quick in terms of if this doesn't pass. I think that it's mentioned that there's some individuals out there that farmers, for instance, longtime residents here that have made money here, that I perhaps can be tagged to say what they can do to support that. But it's not a guarantee.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add, I've asked this question of Mr. Kortler. I wondered if, the bond were to pass and get on the ballot and pass in the fall, and then say, a couple months later, all this money comes in from these rich farmers and capital campaign, and we don't really need it anymore. Would we still be committed to going through the bond and getting the funds and, all that? And unfortunately, the answer is yes. Once the measure would pass, we would have to purchase the bonds and they would have to be repaid. However, any funds that came in afterwards could be applied to that debt. So that would relieve the burden on the taxpayers, and the city council could certainly direct those funds to be used for that purpose. And I just thought it would be, that's something you would like to know.
Sounds complex.
It is.
Comments from the council? You're excited, but
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of concerns out there, and we know it's a valuable piece of downtown. Just long-term, say it does get put on the ballot. And it doesn't pass. What is our end game from there?
we would, that people have, talked about a plan B. Obviously, we would be working on that possibility that would involve a redesign of the project. And maybe we'd have to reduce the size of it. We'd have to count on losing that $4.8 million. We would still have the $5 million from the CAC. And whatever funds the city has. There was some confusion mentioned about 9.8 versus 10.5. Those other funds are those former redevelopment agency funds that I mentioned. So that's why there's two numbers out there. The number is about 10.5. But we would lose 4.8 of that if we had to redesign the project and couldn't get that EDA money in time or whatever, if we lost it. So the project could be redesigned, but it might only just be the existing theater without the addition. And it wouldn't really be a performing arts center anymore. And then we'd have to start the whole project over someday to expand it. It would delay things significantly, but if something would still go forward. Staff is committed to making something happen with that $5 million in the, and then there would be some other funds available, but not to the extent that we'd have to form $4.8 million. I think if we had that meeting yesterday, that performing arts section contains all the hardware, all the HVAC systems, mechanical systems to support the regular historical Royal Theater, which cannot be changed much more than what is established as historical. So that building in the back supports front. Right, like I say, we would just basically have a really fancy movie theater for a while until we could build that addition with other funds that would come along. So that's the dilemma that we're in. I think and Tom mentioned that he's also looking after, and not only Tom, there's other individuals that are looking for resources that'll, if this does not pass, to make it happen. I see hands raised. You want to come on up?
You have a lot of really talented.
Let's share your.
Melanie Packer, you have a
No,
lot of people in surrounding this town. And I don't think it has to be either or. I mean, you all have to decide about the bond, and you're gonna have the meeting next week, but why aren't we already starting the capital campaign? Why aren't we doing that right now? Why are we waiting? I mean, I agree with you, the design is gorgeous. We could get this design is amazing. Then kids could be doing this stuff after school, they won't be on their phones walking home. I mean, but why are we doing a capital campaign? And it can't just all be Tom. I mean, you've got Chachi Ramirez, you've got Mira, people with the Guadalupe Social Club. I have contacts, but I need people to sell it to the people I know, and I know who can sell it, and it's Chachi. Chachi he can sell it. So it's like, let's get a group together to put a capital campaign, and it can't be one person. It takes a village. Like it took the dudes. I just don't think we should. You're all going to decide what you're going to do on the bonds, but why aren't we doing a capital campaign like right now? It should not. It should be already. We brought it up a few meetings ago. The GBA's brought it up. It should already be happening. I wouldn't lose, people shouldn't lose hope. We haven't gone to wealthy people.
I don't think we have.
We haven't.
It's a matter of
wealthy people. We didn't, we also didn't go to Kevin Costner. But, I mean, I would have, but there are other people. I'm just saying, it has to be a team effort to move forward, and I suggest the council something. Thank you.
Yes, please.
I just want to say thank you for everybody that came tonight and gave their opinion, neutral, good, bad, against, or otherwise. It's very nice to hear everybody's point of view. I'm excited for next week's, meeting where the budget will be gone over, the presentation will be gone over. All those things, and I agree that it would have been great to have, that meeting before this one, but I wanted to remind everybody, that whatever we vote whatever we vote is not going to, we can still change our mind. If we had both sides come out tonight and give us their opinion. But I do think after next week, we'll have more clarity, and then on the next regular scheduled meeting, we still have the opportunity to vote. If it passes tonight, to vote it, no, so. Sorry, that's trouble, but, that's all I want to say is that tonight's vote forward, isn't the final vote, and that being said, we just want to get it on the ballot, so, or at least, could possibly get it on the ballot, for you all to vote for it. I have a question, transparency. What mechanisms would be in place to ensure transparency and accountability in the use of funds and the execution of the project? If this was to go on the ballot.
If we just add the ballot, the ordinance that is before you talks about, I think it does. Yeah, I can't remember the wording, but there's gonna be citizen
Committee.
oversight. That's because, that's being proposed, citizen oversight and audit, so there would be transparency through that procedure. Jeannie, you had your hand up?
I've been getting a lot of pushback online about people that don't live here in Guadalupe that are championing this project, and sort of irritating that they are when their taxes aren't going to be affected by it. That's just one thing, but I did a quick example on the website for Guadalupe of the yays and nays. That's all I asked for was a yes or no. I didn't push anyone either way. So 29 people in 2 days responded to that, and 29 of them said no. So that's the percentage so far.
Well, there's probably about 1,500 employees or voters in town, so, thank you for that. All right. Back to the council. Yes, ma'am. No, I didn't see over there.
I just had one comment real quick about, what Melanie said. Why hasn't a group of people gotten together and come and approach the city and put it forward? I put forth to you 1% of 8,500 or so, give or take, is 85. There's not 85 people here talking about this.
Right.
And I've been kind of keeping an eye on the Facebook comments. There aren't 85 people commenting. It's the same people, and that's fine. It's great to hear people's different voices. But let's get the bond on the ballot. Let's have a group of citizens come together and do what they can with the capital campaign in the time that's allotted. But let's get this ballot, let's get this bond on the ballot. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, any other hands up there?
Yeah.
Pause. Yeah, there's, okay.
Yeah, my name is Jared Larson. I've lived here for 43 years. More than like half of the communities have self-built house. We're in a lower income, community. Why would you put more taxes onto a lower income community when we're already, having problems as it is? You know what I mean? But that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. All right, back to the council. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2024-37 and introduce ordinance 2024-520, placing a general obligation bond measure on November 5th, 2024 ballot to finance portion of the Royal Theater renovation project.
I motion to adopt resolution 2024-37 and introduce December 2024-520.
Is there a second?
I will second that. In true transparency, we'll just be clear that you'll leave it up to the voters, because all we're doing is asking to be put inside the democratic process.
Good point. Any discussion? The council. We'll have roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
No.
Councilmember Christina Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Whitney Furnace.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Robles.
Aye.
Mayor Harrison Julian.
Aye. Resolution, the vote passes. It's a tough one, and like, Mr. Robles has mentioned, it's up to our voters, and I think that, I appreciate all comments, it's, and then, you know, the Guadalupe has a lot of history, and I'm not gonna ask people to raise their hands of how many people have been in the theater. Inside in the performance, not through a single, okay, well, then there's a good place. And we'll leave it up to the voters. And next Tuesday, 6 o'clock here,
That's correct.
Would just like to mention, in order for me to make an informed decision, I would like to encourage residents to make it out to the next council meeting. When we hear feedback, that's really gonna help us.
good point. All right, next item, fiscal year 2024-25 budget. Janice. Thank you, audience.
Council, Mr. Thurston. Right, recommendation, it is recommended that city council review requested changes suggested during the May 28th, 2024 council meeting and adopt resolution 2024-38, approving the final budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025. Along with the capital improvements project budget, capital facilities program of projects, and American Rescue Plan Act, along with ARPA, allocation of funds. The background on this, the city council and staff reviewed the fiscal year 2024-25 preliminary budget draft at the May 28th, 2024 council meeting, and as a result, the following items were added to, removed from, or clarified in the preliminary budget. What was added, $41,807.68, the cannabis application fee, which offsets the cost of 25,000. Oh, there's an extra zero there. 25,000 for HDL, I'll make that correction before it goes up. Exhibit K that was added to the budget. Did you guys look at that at all? Go to it. No, okay. What was removed? 120,000 from cannabis revenue for Route 1 retailer. Added 10,000 to Park and Recreation's operating expenses to fund the cost of providing free community events. Previously, these costs were covered by the ARPA funds. Increased the expense for the library rent by 6,000 from 15,000 to 22,000. Added 12,925 for tree trimming for Guadalupe Lighting and Landscaping District Fund. Clarification on the cannabis revenue. 240,000 is estimated from Central Coast Processing and 240,000 is estimated from Central Coast Processing and 240,000 was estimated from the retail stores. Removed first and second quarter estimated revenues due to the Route 1's expected open date. Council asked to look into overtime for fire personnel
currently budgeted at 40% of salary costs. The actuals show that overtime is coming in at 45% of salary costs. No adjustment to the amount presented in the May 28, 2024 city council meeting. Updated capital facilities fund 76 with public safety suggested changes on page 11 of 12, and I'll actually go to that so I can read it for you. Fund 79 reflects budgeted revenues. Oh, sorry, wrong one. The capital facilities fund houses money from people help, self-help housing and Pasadena.
Accessibility shortcut.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Your voice changed.
Pasadena development and tech fees. Staff prepared a program of projects for council's approval as to the use of the funds, attachment 3, which includes 61,500 for public safety equipment that was on the list last year during the workshop. The public safety department and with council deemed these funds could be used for other items to items. The proposed change is $6,006 attachment 5 exhibit I, which is a 4th vehicle for PD at 53,494 and 2,000 for uniforms for the GSST group, the public safety volunteers. General fund project 813,521 and streets project 179,539 for capital improvements and that attachment 2. Does that have any questions? Okay. ARPA funds will remain as presented in the fiscal year 24-25 budget workshop, and the 12,925 quote for tree trimming will be taken from the Guadalupe Lighting and Landscaping District. That was all the changes I had. If I have any questions.
I have a question. Last time we were talking about the library rent. And was it just an administrative error?
Actually, Amelia sent me an email saying that she did contact the Santa Maria, city of Santa Maria regarding the library. And I was actually correct at 15,000.
Okay.
They provide, that 7,000, to cover some other stuff.
Got it. Thank you.
Did you want that back down to 15? I left it, I added the amount still in there, even though they'll probably get the bill in.
I trust your judgment.
Okay, it's a small amount.
Yeah.
Well,
The only thing that I see, you know, the grand jury, we're always looking at the reserves. And we're minus 65,000. Where can we get $65,178? Put into reserve.
I can, you can, on cannabis, of course, you know, that's not always a consistent revenue source. We can completely more or less taken out all the cannabis revenue. We're probably gonna receive revenue and it's probably gonna come in and then eventually just, it'll kick into the reserve anyway. You could designate maybe expecting revenue in that amount to cover that deficit if you'd like.
Well, I'd like to see the paper, so. to
I did-
actually have it here. So-
I did also go, I was conservative on the taxes because we didn't
Okay.
meet what we did last year, so I took the same projection we did last year for this year. Because the projections were about the same. It wasn't to what they were suggesting that it would be for 24-25 when we didn't even meet the 23-24. So I'll use that same 23-24 for this year.
By the way, they're gonna open in July.
Yeah, that's the latest. Okay.
I have a question for next year when we're reviewing this budget. How can we make sure that we wouldn't get that negative again? Or is there some measurement that we can?
The only thing is, like when we're looking at costs, like as far as negative as, so our budget currently is balanced, right? We're still in a positive, it's just we don't have enough for that reserve. So again, we're gonna go into a going concern with the auditors. What we can do and within, from now until December is actually look at, you know, what we're spending, you know, not spending as much, you know, being, us taking really control of our own budgets, and seeing where we can, each department can cut costs.
There's no reason why we, you know, when we get money coming in, there's no reason we can't do a budget amendment. You just don't have to do it for expenditures. You can also do it for revenues.
Yeah.
If we see the
If we
amount,
see that it's coming.
yeah. I really feel like, you know, that's
65,000 is not a huge dollar
Yeah.
amount when you talk about the hole that we all have, but I did need to make sure that you guys were aware that we're not meeting that reserve amount that is expected.
We're close.
We're very,
Yeah,
close.
very
We're
close.
very close. And it could also be, you know, maybe, right now we have a bunch of open positions that are in the budget. Who knows when we're gonna actually hire those people, you know, and that big cost until that time of hire, you know, so we don't know. This is just for the full year budget. So there are some certain wiggle rooms within the budget where we might be able to actually have that reserve available.
I have a quick question, just because I'm new. It says 2 months of revenue is supposed to be kept in.
Revenue or expenditures,
Operating.
and since they're pretty much balanced, I went with expenditures.
Okay, so 2 months of,
If money was to go away, we'd have that.
sure, yeah, no, but so if our budget and expenditures are 10 million, right? So divided by 12 is 9, times 2. I don't even know the exact number, I just, okay, so. Oh, yeah,
Numbers there, it's on page 2.
am I not, oh, wait,
So at the top, if you see where it says,
Right.
the budgeted reserves needed is 1,732,900.
oh, that's what we need at all times, okay, so that makes sense, okay, I was thinking.
Not at all.
I was thinking of it
but
differently.
What our current, what we have currently budgeted for this year, that is the amount of 2 weeks. worth.
That's the reserve, so then we are short of that reserve by 65K.
Right.
Got it, okay,
Oh,
thank you for.
And
explaining that.
I'm just speaking on behalf of the council. I can imagine that they might have a new goal of increasing that reserve at some point. You never know. Things are going well.
And in the past, we were in the hole over close to 400,000 in the negative. So,
Well, I remember, during the 2008, you know, everything went down. There was news reports. I didn't live here yet, but, there's news reports about the city and whatnot. And I just remember thinking,
Mhm.
you know, I'm glad to see that we are keeping a reserve that high, but, what do other communities keep as reserves as far as months?
So this is the amount that our auditors provided for, something is gonna be the same for other cities as well. Just like their minimum amount of
Percentage,
reserve,
yeah,
this
it's a percentage.
this amount,
Got it.
based off of their expenditures.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanation.
How do we deal with overtime? The salary cost, the actual shows overtime is coming in at 45% of the salary cost. Anybody?
Yeah.
Chief? One thing we try to look at is filling open positions. It's like a double-edged sword. When we don't have the people, then we gotta pay extra, but then too, you gotta pay for the ones that filling, just try to fill in the positions. We're hoping for right now with that safer grant, that we look like we might be able to get back and add 3 firefighters that we do not pay for 3 years. And hopefully kind of save up that aspect of money to, so that when it does kick in, our only unknowns is MOUs.
Okay, any other questions? We're looking for approval now or no?
Yes.
Yeah, we are. Resolution 2024-38. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-38? A motion to adopt resolution 2024-38.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior.
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Furnace.
Aye.
Councilmember Robles.
Aye.
Mayor Harrison Julian.
Aye. Pass, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, item 14, future agenda items. Pretty well set for this 2 months, huh? Yeah.
Yes, I will be contacting the school.
Oh, we going on that? The joint meeting with.
I wanted to get past this meeting and then I'll get it set up. Just June 18th and I'll get it set up. Promise you. Yeah. I'm shooting for July, yeah.
Okay.
Announcement, council activity reports. Thing on your team. I know you have something. What do you have? We have, you have an event this Saturday, correct?
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of events. Keynotes, you're the keynote speaker, or you,
Yes, sir.
can you explain a little bit about that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This Saturday, I've been selected by the Central Coast NAACP to be the keynote speaker at the Juneteenth celebration in Lompoc as the first and only African American police chief in the county of Santa Barbara. So I'm honored. But it makes it even more special because where I'm coming from here in Guadalupe. And I appreciate and thank the citizens of Guadalupe giving me this opportunity so I can go there to be able to represent us. And when I look at Juneteenth, it's about all of us. And that's the part that I really want to stress. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. What time is that gonna be, Chief? 11 o'clock, or you're gonna?
The event is from 11 to 5, but I've been told my time is 1:40 to 2:10.
Of course, we have time to come over.
PG2, right, Chief?
Yes.
And that's in Lompoc, and it's, I didn't know where they're gonna have it. Is it open over there?
They sent it, it's on a. You have it?
I know the person who asked you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is it in the building or is it outside?
No,
It's outside. I thought it was outside.
it's outside.
It's off of H, is it off of H Street or? Oh, we can look it up.
Don't you?
There's a flyer on it, so.
Yes, there's a flyer.
While you're doing that, we had food bank of last week, there was over 200 families. And we're not gonna do July 4th because it's a holiday, so we're moving it to July 11th. Yeah.
I also just wanna, Zapateo celebrated 36 years of being a business here in Guadalupe.
36 years,
Yeah,
that long?
I believe maybe this is, June 1st, Zapateo has been in the Diaz family for 36 years.
In the family, okay.
How about the how long has that been going on?
This weekend, I was also able to support Hope, House of Pride and Equality for their Pride event, in Santa Maria. And then, Mayor was able to share the picnic in the park. For children that are looking for a free lunch, they can, visit Riverview Town Home June 17th through August 1st, 11 and 12, and I believe that the bank is also looking for volunteers. So that's pretty good.
Anything else? With item 16 adjournment to closed session. Is there a motion to adjourn to closed session? I'm looking to adjourn to closed session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All ayes. Hey, Chief, you wanna pick this fucking up?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got security people. Motions or minutes or time?
Yeah. I did that. I did the first question. gonna come back into, I'll always. Deal with their. So I'll text you. How do you let me get that? You can. I think so.
Back in like 1999.
Is it really? Busy?
It was pretty bad. And I lived back there in 80. Oh, I used to live in there when it was,
I love Longport. I think
where they still had Miller's Elko. And they still had. That. Oh, it was way before Murray. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
I lived on my mom, when I went to my first.
Won't be long.
Yeah, my mom was a drug her. It was their mom.
I'm gonna get.
So we did about.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I spent time there.